invite Professor Shyama Prasad Ganguly to give us a few words.
Honorable Sri Najeeb Jung, Sardar, Ambassador Augusto Montiel, Excellencies, friends, I feel greatly honored to witness what was once the hosting of a bust of the great liberator, Simon Bolivar, a few years ago, now turning into a more significant spatial landmark called the Bolivar Square in the heart of our capital city on the occasion of the 206th anniversary of Latin American Declaration of Independence. It's a great privilege to have been asked to speak a few words on both the occasions. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. In today's act, what may strike the mind first is an overwhelming charge of routine symbolism, followed for many of our own lofty figures in the Indian context. Talking about Tagore, a contemporary critic and poet has cryptically observed, if we have not turned him into a calendar figure of 8th of May and 7th of August, his birth and death anniversaries. Parties and persons falling over each other to stake claims to Ambedkar's legacy in India is an inescapable phenomenon today. How often has Gandhi remained within the confines of embattled muskets in our contemporary political life, and so on. Some people from the other continent might say that that is equally true of Simon Bolivar. But as a keen reader of biographies, I have been faced with this enigmatic question that if ritualistic symbolism surrounding such great figures is one reality, what about the fact that these men keep rising time and again like phoenix from the ashes of historical memory and keep haunting so many of us all the time? Perhaps the answer lies in the fact that in order to understand history, we at times need to free ourselves from the weight of history so that such overwhelming figures or overwhelming issues like idealism, identity, morality, ethics, justice, creativity, which are inseparable from these men and women of great standing, could be treated and understood independently. For students of culture and literature, Cervantes created an immortal fictional character of this nature who keeps instructing us. His Quixote, we call him Quixote, has and will inspire the field of fiction forever. It occurs to me that though in India and Latin America we have lacked such an exemplary character in the fictional mode, we have made that up by real figures who incarnated the Quixotesque spirit in terms of the nature and dimensions of the plans and actions proposed and lived through, walking the path of robust reason. Both Gandhi and Bolivar preferred to put their dreamed ideals before their personal conveniences and work disinterestedly to achieve set goals which they thought were just, negotiating at each turn the milestones of unattainability. the symbolism of the Bolivar Square is important and significant. It could serve as a mirror image of the hundreds of Bolivar Squares all over Latin America. Its effective use could serve as a link between the lives and works of our, what in Spanish is called próceres, and more importantly, between their ardent followers. Thus, to the more curious, it would open channels for understanding their relevance today. In this context, please allow me to cite two of my personal experiences. During my 2004 academic tour of Latin America at the Rosario University in Bogota, the Vice Chancellor introduced me to a student leader who with his team was helping out an NGO project to instruct touring indigenous groups to the thoughts of Bolivar on ecology, environment, and national monuments. Bolivar is a living presence for us, he said. We are inspired by the copy of the Decree of Independence maintained and displayed by our library to show its relevance. And as if to bring home the point emphatically, the Vice Chancellor told me that the sofa on which I and our ambassador in Bogota at that time were invited to sit was once used by Simón Bolívar. There was something magical that I experienced at that moment, that we were not part of museum pieces, but as history brought alive. Let me conclude with the second of such exhilarating experiences in my 40 years of solidarity with Hispanism and Latin Americanism. In the middle of President Hugo Chávez's speech to an audience of thousands in the month of March 2005 at our university, Jawaharlal Nehru University, I was suddenly called upon to take up the task of translating him simultaneously. The risk of failure in handling such an eloquent speaker without notice stared me naked in my face. It could be curtains to my reputation, especially before the whole community of students who looked at us for examples. This was the biggest professional challenge in my personal life. What helped me resolve it? I asked myself, well, it may sound too idealistic now, but I thought for a second, if this man Chávez, as a torchbearer of the Bolivarian ideas, proposed and executed what he did during just a few years, and still find the courage and tenacity and resolve to travel on an earlier occasion to Bangladesh to learn about the microcredit system from Muhammad Yunus, to which I was a personal witness, why can't I find the focus and strength to be the ideal communicator in a situation of comparatively far lesser challenge? This did the trick. This did the magic. And ever since then has stood by me as an exemplary force. If legacies come alive in their radical and transformative possibilities in this fashion, in the lives of small people like me, what promise of affirmative action they unfold in more active agents of change in our world. These are some of the reflections I thought would be relevant on a special occasion like this that has brought us together today. Thank you very much.
Now we invite